Hello and welcome to Effing About. Now today we're going to look at rear brake pad change. Driving around yesterday, my car decided that it hadn't had quite enough work done on it and it wants its rear brakes changed. So I've retaken the necessary steps. The car's parked on flat level ground. I've jacked it up. As you'll see in a minute, all the wheels are off anyway because I want to check the front pads while I'm here. And it's all secure and the wheels are off. So as we can see then, all the wheels are off. And I have already removed the brake pads. Okay, to do this, remove the brake pads. If you look at the back of the thing, we've got one bolt that would be here. And if I move this caliper out of the way, one at the top. So that's two 12mm bolts to remove it. Once that's done, the whole caliper will come away. And as you can see, I've just tied it up so it's not resting on the brake pipe, which isn't good for it. Okay, so I've taken the pads off, and upon looking at the pads, this is the one that was in the back end. As you can see, there's absolutely no meat on that left. The one on the front, however, as you can see, has got a fair amount of meat left on it. So I reckon that at some point the sliders, which you can see here that I've slightly raised, have been jammed, keeping one pad against the I reckon the sliders, which you can see here, which go here, okay, at some point were jammed, hence giving us a really skinny brake pad. So what we're going to do then is, in line with MG, we'll remove these as I've got some nice clean ones to fit. Before we do that then, what we're going to do is give it a quick clean out. There we go. Ensuring we do the back edge, which is the edge that's normally forgotten about, which is the edge that's usually the worst. And we'll do the same for the underside here. There we go, they look nice and clean now. Okay, so I'm happy that those two channels are done. Next thing we need to do then is wind our calipers back in. Because I was slightly sceptical that these calipers were working, I've actually already wound them in and given them a bit of a lube. Okay, so I'm happy that they're done. The winding back tool you can borrow from most garages, and it simply slots on and twists and pushes that piston back in. While you're doing this, however, do ensure that you've undone the filler cap underneath the bonnet, just to let any excess oil push back up into the reservoir. Okay, next step we're going to do is install some new sliders. So here's our new sliders. It's pretty obvious which way they go in. Go in like that and simply push down. One on the bottom and one on the top. Like so. Yeah, they're not in contact with anything, so I'm happy with them. Next step then, get some gloves on, because what we want is a tiny weeniest amount just on these sliders here. A little bit of copper grease. There we go. And all that's going to do is lubricate our brake pads. As I say, you want the tiniest amount on there, because what you don't want is excess getting onto your disc, because that's going to poorly affect your braking performance. So there we go. Next up then is we're going to get our brake pads. You can see I've got my new ones here and here. The flat ones receive a little plate on the back of them. Okay, and they simply just push into place like so. That's your front one, and then your rear one goes on. In exactly the same manner as the front one. Make sure it all lines up. and everything goes into its sliders. If it doesn't, just give it a wiggle, remove it, and have another go. There we go, so your 2 brake pads are in. That's going to give a good braking moment there. Next thing we can do then is we want to get a little dab of this grease and get it on the back of these and on the one inside. So that one and that one. As I said, making sure that we don't get any oil or grease onto our pads or onto our disc. Get the gloves off for now. We can now reattach our caliper. 2 pads. You might have to reach behind and push in where the bolts go. There we go. Give it a wiggle and it will go on eventually. There we go. Got the bolts in my pocket then. Had the bolts in my pocket then. There we go. Look in the other pocket will always help. Just push them through from behind and tighten them up. Move all these old pads out of the way. There we go. As I said, it's a 12mm socket. You'll probably need a screwdriver, a spanner, to get onto the bottom one. But I'm reasonably happy with that now, so we'll give it a tighten up with the spanner and the socket, and we'll be ready to go on to the next side. There we go, as we can see, that's all pulled it nicely together. Get onto the bottom ones then. As I said, spanner fits in there. Unfortunately the socket doesn't. And then once they're both done, we'll get the torque wrench out, we'll set it to the correct torque setting and nip them up. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the torque setting after I've done the other side. It probably would be better practice to do the torque as you go. However, I haven't looked up the torque setting, to be honest, so I'll look at it once I've finished. So that's that one done then, and now we'll move on to the other side. As you can see, this one's in a similar state to the other one. The only difference is I've still got the rag on it from where I lubed up the caliper earlier. So we'll take the rag off. It's just avoided any oil getting onto the disc that we don't want. So exactly the same as the other side. We'll pop out our old sliders. Easier said than done. If you need to, you might have to get a screwdriver in there. Just being careful that you don't snap the slider and leave any bit in there. As you can see, that one's come out intact. And the top ones come out intact, and you can clearly see where the discs have been moving and where they haven't been, so it's a good job we're changing this. As we go to the side, we'll give it a clean, taking particular care of the inside edge. So there we go then, we're giving it a clean and we're happy that that's done. One point to note is don't put the handbrake on while the calipers aren't in contact with the disc, because this can affect the adjustment of the brake pads. So from here then, now we're happy it's clean, we're going to get our new shims, our new slider plates, and just pop them in like so. Exactly the same as the other side. There we go. Pop that one in. And the same as the other side, we're going to get some more of the grease and just very, very liberally put it onto the slider plates. So there we go, I've got my glove back on. There's a very, very small amount on there. Give it a rub around. There we go. And as I said for the last side, making sure we don't get any on the disc or the pads. So put the backing plate on the pads. There we go, just like so. And these are the same as the other side, just slot in. So, there we go, one. Two, there we go. Get a little bit more grease on the front and backs of these. There we go. We'll be nice and liberal with this one. One, two. There we go. So at this point now then, I'm happy that the caliper's been wound back. Just untie it. There we go. Offer it up to the new pads. Give it a wiggle. And put the bolts back in. So here goes the first bolt. So just hold it with your knee and get the bolt screwed in. As with all jobs, come up against problems, which can just be overcome by a little bit of force. There we go, so they're going in now. I'll span it and I'll ratchet on it. And then when we get our torque wrench out in a minute, we're going to do them up to 45 Newton meters. There we go. So I'm happy that they're done. We'll get our torque wrench, make sure they're at 45 Newton meters. So here we go then, we've got the torque wrench out, set to 45 Newton meters. A little bit fiddly due to the brake caliper the hose that's there. There we go. That one's 45. We'll do the other 3 now and make sure we're happy with all of them. And then we're going to pump the brake pedal. This will just adjust the pads. After we've pumped the brake pedal a few times and we're happy that the pads are adjusted, then we can use the handbrake if we need to. One thing I will say though is if you're not entirely happy about doing the job yourself, take it to the garage because brakes are pretty important. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please click like and comment on what else you'd like to see.